Every once in a while, archaeologists, and sometimes the lucky amateurs with a shovel and too much curiosity, stumble upon something that flips history on its head. We're not talking about some old pots and human bones. We're talking about artifacts that should not exist, objects that defy logic, relics that don't match their time, and discoveries that make experts question whether we really know our past as well as we think. How did they get here? Who made them? And do they prove that history is hiding something much bigger than we imagined? These 15 artifacts challenge everything we thought we knew and trust us. Some of them are downright impossible. Number 15. The London Hammer. In June 1936, or 1934 according to some accounts, Max Hahn and his wife Emma were on a walk when they noticed a rock with wood protruding from its core. Thinking it was just an oddity, they took it home and cracked it open, only to find something impossible inside: a hammer. Not just any hammer, though. This one was embedded in rock supposedly dating back over 400 million years. That's a time when fish were just figuring out how to grow legs, long before dinosaurs. Even crazier, some estimates put the hammer itself at 500 million years old, and part of the wooden handle had even begun turning into coal. Of course, this had creationists jumping for joy, with Carl Baugh in the 1980s using it to claim a pre-flood civilization of giants. But let's be real, there are problems. The hammer's design matches 19th century American tools, and geologists suspect the minerals around it simply hardened over time, making it look ancient. The sad part? No one's allowed to test it anymore because it's locked up in a creationist museum. Number 14. 1.8 billion-year-old nuclear reactor? In 1972, scientists analyzing uranium ore imported from Oklo, Gabon, made a discovery that defied logic. The uranium had already been naturally depleted, something that should only happen in a controlled nuclear reaction. Investigating further, researchers found that the site appeared to have functioned as a nuclear reactor 1.8 billion years ago, and for an estimated 500,000 years. Dr. Glenn T. Seaborg, a Nobel Prize-winning chemist and former head of the U.S. Atomic Energy Commission, believed this wasn't a natural occurrence. He argued that for uranium to sustain a nuclear reaction, specific conditions must be met, including a precise concentration of U-235. These conditions, according to him, couldn't have existed naturally at that time. Some scientists maintain that natural conditions could have triggered the reaction, but skeptics argue that the consistency and longevity of the process suggest an artificially engineered system. Number 13. 2,000-year-old earthquake detector. In 132 AD, Chinese scientist Zhang Heng unveiled an invention far ahead of its time: a seismoscope capable of detecting earthquakes hundreds of miles away. This bronze vessel, adorned with intricate dragon designs, could determine both the direction and occurrence of distant tremors. Its accuracy was demonstrated in 138 AD when the device indicated an earthquake 300 miles west of Luoyang, even though no tremors were felt locally. Officials doubted its reading until days later when a messenger arrived to confirm the disaster. Modern replicas of Zhang Heng's device have functioned with surprising precision, but how it worked is still debated. Some believe a pendulum mechanism triggered small metal balls to fall into corresponding dragon mouths, marking the quake's direction. Others suggest a form of fluid dynamics. Regardless of the exact mechanism, Zhang Heng's seismoscope stands as an engineering marvel, one that modern science still struggles to fully understand. Number 12. Unexplainable fossils and metal objects. Geology has given us a pretty solid timeline of Earth's history, but every now and then something shows up that just doesn't fit. Some of the strangest discoveries involve fossilized human-like imprints in rock far older than humans should have existed. For example, a human handprint was found in 110-million-year-old limestone. A fossilized human finger of similar age was also discovered. Then there's the truly mind-boggling case of a human-like footprint wearing what appears to be a sandal, embedded in a 300-million-year-old rock, a time when even dinosaurs weren't around, let alone humans. And it's not just fossils. There's also the 65-million-year-old metallic tubes dug up in France, and a mysterious metal cube found inside a lump of coal that supposedly formed millions of years ago. Are these all misinterpretations, hoaxes, or proof of a lost chapter in history? That's a question still waiting for an answer. Number 11. 500,000-year-old spark plug. In 1961, 3 rock hunters searching for geodes near Olancha, California, stumbled upon something far stranger than a gemstone, what appeared to be a spark plug encased in stone. The discovery, later dubbed the Koso artifact, defied logic. One of the discoverers, Virginia Maxey, claimed a geologist analyzed the surrounding material and dated the object at 500,000 years old. That alone should have been impossible. But here's the problem. The geologist was never named, and the artifact has since vanished. With only X-rays and sketches to analyze, skeptics argue that the object was simply a modern spark plug encased in quick-forming concretion, not an ancient relic. Yet even critics like Pierre Stromberg and Paul Heinrich admitted there was no evidence of deception. So, was this proof of ancient technology or just a case of misinterpretation? Without the artifact for testing, the truth remains buried, literally and figuratively. Number 10. The Antikythera mechanism. The discovery of the Antikythera mechanism completely changed our understanding of ancient tech. In 1901, divers exploring a 2,000-year-old shipwreck off the Greek island of Antikythera found what looked like a corroded chunk of bronze. No one paid much attention until researchers X-rayed it and found a mind-blowing secret, a highly complex system of gears and dials hidden inside. This device was built over 2,100 years ago, yet it functioned as an advanced astronomical calculator. It could track the movement of the sun, moon, and planets, predict eclipses, and even adjust for the irregular motion of the moon, something scientists wouldn't fully understand for another 1,500 years. Nothing like this should have existed in ancient Greece. There's no record of anything similar in any historical texts. Some experts believe there were earlier, even more sophisticated versions that were lost to time. If that's true, then history has been missing an entire chapter of technological advancement that we may never recover. Number 9. Ancient Egyptian light bulb. Deep within the Temple of Hathor at Dendera, Egypt, a cryptic relief depicts what looks like an enormous light bulb, complete with a filament-like structure and figures standing around it. This peculiar engraving has fueled speculation for decades. Could the ancient Egyptians have understood electricity? Swiss author Erich von Däniken, famous for his book Chariots of the Gods, took the theory further by building a model based on the relief. When connected to a power source, his replica produced an eerie purple glow, resembling an early gas discharge lamp. Skeptics dismissed the theory, arguing that the relief actually represents a lotus flower with a serpent emerging, a symbol of creation in Egyptian mythology. However, supporters point out the lack of soot inside tombs and temples, suggesting an alternative lighting method may have been used. Whether a symbolic carving or an ancient party light, the mystery surrounding the Dendera light remains unsolved. Number 8. Iron Pillar of Delhi. In Delhi, India, a massive 7-meter-tall iron pillar has stood for over 1,500 years, yet it has barely rusted. Given that even modern iron structures corrode over time, scientists have struggled to explain how this ancient 99.72% pure iron pillar has remained intact. Made sometime around 400 AD, the pillar is inscribed with a dedication to King Chandragupta II. Unlike modern iron, which contains manganese and sulfur, this pillar's unique composition, combined with Delhi's dry climate, may have helped preserve it. Some researchers suggest a thin protective layer of iron hydrogen phosphate formed over centuries, acting as a natural shield. Yet, even with these theories, the metallurgy used to create such a corrosion-resistant structure remains unmatched. Ancient India had knowledge of ironworking far beyond its time, leaving modern scientists questioning how such an advanced process was developed so early. Number 7. The Baghdad Battery. This peculiar artifact consists of a 5.5-inch high clay jar with a copper cylinder inside, sealed with asphalt. Within the cylinder, archaeologists found an oxidized iron rod. It was unearthed near Baghdad in the 1930s, and in 1940, Wilhelm Koenig, a German director at the National Museum of Iraq, suggested that this could be an ancient galvanic cell. In other words, a battery. If Koenig was right, this means people 2,000 years ago, possibly the Parthians, were experimenting with electricity long before the modern world. Some theorize it was used for electroplating gold onto silver, which would mean they understood a basic form of electricity. But here's the issue. While modern recreations show that it could work, there's zero evidence the people of the time actually used it as a power source. Most archaeologists think it was just a storage container. Was this an accidental battery or proof of ancient electrical knowledge? We may never know. Number 6. The Piri Reis map. In 1929, a group of historians stumbled upon something incredible, a map drawn in 1513 on gazelle skin by Piri Reis, a well-documented admiral in the Turkish Navy. At first, it seemed like just another old map, but the details quickly made it one of the strangest artifacts ever found. The map accurately charts Europe, North Africa, Brazil, and various Atlantic islands. That's impressive enough, but then it takes a bizarre turn. It also depicts Antarctica, centuries before it was officially discovered. Even more puzzling, it shows Antarctica's landmass without its ice cover, something that has been buried under ice for at least 6,000 years. Some believe Piri Reis used much older source maps from an unknown civilization, while skeptics argue it's just a coincidence or misinterpretation. Either way, this 500-year-old map presents a huge mystery. How did a 16th century admiral map out a landmass hidden under ice for thousands of years? No one knows. Number 5. The Dropa stones. In 1938, a Chinese archaeological expedition led by Dr. Chi-Pu Tay explored caves in the remote Bayankara Ula Mountains. What they found buried under thick layers of dust was nothing short of bizarre. Hundreds of small stone discs, each about 9 inches in diameter, with a hole in the center and spiral grooves carved into the surface. Initially, they seemed like primitive records. But as researchers studied them closer, they realized the spirals contained tiny, intricate hieroglyphics. When finally translated, the message described a group of beings called the Dropa, small, thin people who crash-landed in the mountains over 10,000 years ago and had no way to return home. Soviet scientists later claimed the discs emitted a strange vibration when placed on a turntable, as if they carried an electric charge. But here's where things get shady. Despite all these discoveries, none of the Dropa stones are publicly displayed, and most of the research has disappeared. If they're real, someone doesn't want us to know about them. Number 4. The Saqqara bird. Discovered during the 1898 excavation of the Padi Iman tomb in Saqqara, Egypt. The Saqqara bird is, no surprise here, a bird-shaped wooden artifact carved from sycamore. It weighs just under 40 grams and has a wingspan of more than 7 inches, dating back to approximately 200 BC. Here's where things get weird. Unlike other bird depictions from ancient Egypt, this one has a vertical tail, which isn't seen in any real birds. But it does resemble the tail of an airplane or glider. Some researchers speculate that the ancient Egyptians may have had knowledge of aerodynamics, or at least experimented with flying stuff. Egyptian physician and archaeologist Khalil Masiha even suggested it could be evidence of early aircraft. Others argue it was just a ceremonial object or a child's toy. Without any supporting historical records, its purpose remains a mystery. A lost experiment in aviation or just another wooden carving? We still don't know. Number 3. The Voynich manuscript. The Voynich manuscript is the world's most mysterious book, a 240-page codex written in an unknown language, filled with bizarre illustrations of unknown plants, celestial charts, and cryptic symbols. Discovered by Polish book dealer Wilfrid Voynich in 1912, the manuscript has baffled scholars, cryptographers, and code breakers for over a century. Despite countless attempts to decipher the script, no one has been able to identify its language, meaning, or author. Some believe it's an elaborate hoax, while others argue it contains coded knowledge from a lost civilization. Even World War II code breakers and modern AI decryption programs have failed to crack its secrets. Theories range from alchemical formulas to an alien language, yet no explanation fully fits. Without a key to its cipher, the Voynich manuscript remains one of history's most enigmatic puzzles. A book written by someone, for a reason we still don't understand. Number 2. 2.8 billion-year-old spheres. In South African mines, deep within 2.8 billion-year-old pyrophyllite rock, workers have unearthed small metallic spheres with fine parallel grooves running around their circumference. Known as Clerksdorp spheres, these objects have sparked endless debate. Are they natural formations, or could they be artificial artifacts from a prehistoric civilization? The spheres vary in size, some nearly perfectly round, and according to museum curator Rolf Marx, their surfaces are so hard that even steel can't scratch them. Some researchers argue they are natural concretions, mineral formations created over millions of years. Others claim their symmetry and groove patterns suggest a level of craftsmanship. Similar objects like Moki marbles in Utah are explained by natural processes, but the Clerksdorp sphere's unique properties remain puzzling. If nature shaped them, it did so with precision rarely seen. If they were made, who created them billions of years before humans were supposed to exist? Well, we don't know for sure. Number 1. Million-year-old bridge. Spanning 48 kilometers between India and Sri Lanka, a submerged chain of limestone shoals known as Adam's Bridge, Ram Setu, has been the subject of both scientific and mythological intrigue. According to Hindu epic Ramayana, this was a bridge built by King Rama's army over 1 million years ago. Satellite images show what appears to be a man-made structure, but geologists argue it's a natural formation. However, Dr. Badrinarayanan, a former director of the Geological Survey of India, examined core samples and found large boulders sitting atop marine sand, suggesting the rocks were placed there artificially. Dating the structure remains controversial, as coral and sand samples can't provide a clear age for the entire bridge. While some dismiss the myth as legend, others believe Ram Setu could be the remains of an ancient engineering feat lost to history. Until more evidence surfaces, its origins remain one of history's greatest mysteries. We really hope you have found this video interesting. If you did, well, like, share, and subscribe. Thanks for joining us on this journey, and we'll see you soon in the next one.